What's up, Gripsters and random YouTubers? Evan here for Grips.com, and this series is about to get really juicy. We're down to the final two tables, and we're sitting on a big chip lead. Not sure what I'm talking about? Well, 4 Sundays ago, Team Grips member Mario Mazbach shipped the Big Ben on Full Tilt Poker for just over $17,000. Buy-in was 109, which means he netted about 170 buy-ins. It may not be a Sunday major, but it is still a major score. This is part 4 of what's going to end up being a 5 or 6 part series. We're now down to the final 2 tables, so we're going to go through every hand and get a feel for what everyone is up to. The hands involving our hero will get more analysis, but yes, we will be watching all the action now. Let's get into it and see how Mario puts his big stack to work. He's played like an absolute boss so far. And if previous episodes were any sign of things to come, we are in for a great show. So I believe there are like 12 players left in the tourney. We get a shove from Atomic Penguin for quite a few big blinds. I guess he was pretty tilted about that last hand because King 5 off is just really not that good. Until you flop 2 pairs. Go for a little steal here. We have about 90 blinds where everyone else has between, for the most part, 30, 40 blinds. Palau's the only short guy. Get 3-bet. I don't think we need to defend here. We are getting a decent price, but Queen Jack off is a really easily dominated hand. No suitedness. We can't continue on like a ton of flops, so I think it's a good fold. Raising a 3-bet. So just try to pay attention to what the players are doing. See who's raising a lot. See who's 3-betting a lot. See who defends their blinds, defends to 3-bets, if anyone's 4-betting a lot. And try to, create a clear picture of these guys. Maybe even take some notes on them so that you can predict, wow, what's going to happen. Josh, were you floating? You were. That Josh CX. We remember him from the first couple of videos, don't we? And then, yeah, see if you can predict what people are going to do. Here, we can go either way. We could just shove it in. It is only like 26 blinds, 25, 28 blinds. And we have, it's probably the best hand, blind versus blind. That being said, the hand also plays pretty well post-flop, and we're getting a good price, so flatting is a fine option too. Now this flop, we'll bet when check 2, just take it down. And if you go through the experience of practicing, taking these notes on these people, developing these reads, then it's going to be easier to do it when you have to do it in real time and you're actually playing your tournaments. And trust me, there is nothing more valuable you can have than good notes on your opponents. So if you guys can actually do that for this video, you want to watch it at half speed or whatever, that's fine. Get in the habit of it so that when you hit the felts, it's more natural, and the more you do it, the easier it's going to be, and the more benefit you're going to gain. And eventually you're going to start taking better and better notes. I think with this hand, we should just 3-bet call it off, but Mario, he likes to see those flops. Check call. Check, check. Check, check. Ooh. So Josh is trying to claim that he has a weak ace, that he didn't bet on the turn despite the fact that 2 flush draws came. I just don't buy it. And I hope Mario doesn't buy it either. Nice. Yeah. No need to pot control there. If you're Josh, just keep on betting. And then maybe bet the turn and check back the river. But his line looks kind of weak. So I like that Mario made that call there. And we see that if we reshove pre-flop, whether we got called or not, we would have won the pot as well. Mario picking a nice spot to 3-bet. Jargon is someone who's been mixing it up a little bit so far, so I understand attacking that spot. Remember, when you 3-bet, the situation is more important than your actual holding. So you can definitely 3-bet light. You can definitely 3-bet real light. You may not want to do it with a hand like Jack 2 off suit. But, Jack 2 suited, Jack 8 off, you can get away with it. Man, Adam. Lose 1 pot and the guy just goes right off the deep end. I mean, to be fair, it was a massive pot, but you really got to keep your cool in these things because you never know if you can rebuild it back up to something huge. And here we go attacking Josh. Fire a little C-bet. Don't need to go too big on a board of that texture. I don't think we should keep firing though. It's probably a good time to just throw in the towel and wow. That particular hand we could have moved him off of. I'm kind of surprised he didn't just 4-bet shove that pre. 8 to 20, he's like 40 blinds deep. Well, we put him in a tough spot. I wonder if he folds a queen if we fire like 30k on the turn here, 32k. Definitely puts him in a really tough spot, and it's worth thinking about. When he calls the flop, does he only have aces? Well, we know the answer is no. And does he have hands that will fold to multiple barrels? Something to think about, because that's how you really determine whether you want to fire multiple barrels or whether we do what Mario did and just shut down, which I think in that particular spot was fine. I was kind of surprised to see our opponent have tens. So blinds are up. We have about 80 blinds. Bitox has 30 blinds. Palau with 19. Yargin with 40. And Josh with 43. And it's very important to keep track of how many blinds your opponents have, because your entire strategy is going to depend on what sort of chip stack they're on, what moves they have in their arsenal of weapons that they can use. And oof, that hurts. We're down to the final 10. Josh giving us a walk. He's showing us a little respect, and that's one of the benefits to attacking people like Mario did with the 3-bet with the 6-7 suited, is just that when they see you're willing to get in there and give them a hard time, they're just gonna want to stay out of your way a little bit more. So it's kind of like buying some fold equity. All right, C-bet top set, obviously. Little steal. Wow, we are flopping real good. Too bad our opponents aren't flopping anything. I am interested by the fold. Mario, get in the comments, let us know why, because I know that you like to defend. And again, King 10's pretty good. You're getting a pretty good price. It's 5-handed. Maybe you think Bitox just real tight. Try that cheap steal again. Can't work every time, but it doesn't have to work every time. That's the beauty of, you know, risking small amounts and giving yourself a good price. Okay, so I guess someone busted from one of the other tables. We are officially on the final table of the Big Ben. And so let's take a look around. We're the chip leader with 433k, but we don't worry about the exact number of chips we have. We worry about how many blinds we have. So let's just do it the easy way. The old classic calculator. You don't need fancy software for this game. You can just do simple math with simple programs. So let's start with us. 433 to 5. We got 86 bigs. There are 22 to our left. 35 to the left of that. 50 over here. 60 over here. 26 over here. 42 over there. 46 for Menda, I believe. I'm just going around the table, if you weren't sure. And 60 for Emil. So good to know. We just want to know how many blinds our opponents have. And at this point, we just kind of want to see what everyone's doing, see who's ready to battle, who's just trying to chill and move up the pay structure. And when we identify who's doing what, develop our attack plan. If people are trying to move up the payout structure, we want to be trying to steal from them, putting a lot of pressure on them. If people are ready to do battle, well, we probably only want to get involved if we are also ready to go to war. That doesn't mean we need to have a premium hand necessarily, but it means we're ready to go. So we got an open, a 3-bet, a 4-bet, and a 5-bet shove for 40 blinds. Does Emil have it? He does. So we're just going to chop this up. And that's going to be pretty standard, you know, ace king, less than 40 blinds. You're going to be all in every time. And we can definitely get away with raising a few more hands, like a little bit of a wider range than the other players, because we have the chips. Now, blinds just went up, so that would be a good time to reevaluate where everyone's at. We have like 70 and change, 20 on our left, 35 for Jargon, about 37 for BitTalks, 50 for Datawek, 20 for Verderber, 35 for Josh, 40 for Menda, and 45 for Emil. Always good to just go through the habit, keeping track of how many blinds everyone has. Because the more you know, the better you're going to play, and the better you're going to do. Another ace, king. Shocker, they got it all in. I wonder if you guys can hear the clicking sound. You probably can. I hope it doesn't tilt too much. I remember the first video I ever put up, how to win $1,000 in 45 minutes playing online poker. The microphone was right beside the mouse, and you could just hear the click, click, click for like the full 45 minutes. People were like, man, what is that sound? I can't stand it. I hope that we come a long way since then. So not too much going on, just a couple of ace king all-ins, and then a bunch of raise and takes. No, not too much 3-betting. It doesn't seem like anyone's doing anything too light. Everyone's just kind of playing straightforward. And for some reason, Mario decided he was going to sit out. Maybe he wanted to grab a bottle of champagne to celebrate the fact that he's in a real good position and very likely to make a lot of money. Dry flop, let's c-bet. And on that turn, I think I'm probably shutting down. And Mario's shutting down too. It's just like, if you think about what hands he can fold, if he he's probably not going to float with just a pure ace high on this board, though he may. If he called with the king, he's not going to fold it. If he called with a flush draw, he's obviously not going to fold it. And if he called with any pocket pair, he's going to fold them half the time. That half the time being when he doesn't have a spade. He's probably going to call the half the time he does have a spade. He could also appeal with hands like ace 4 or ace 3 if he called those pre-flop. So there are some hands that he can fold. And maybe some people think this is a 2-barrel. If you guys want to get into it, do some analysis and break it down as to how wide Josh has to be defending the blind and peeling this flop for it to be a good 2-barrel for a bet of maybe like 28K. Love to see it and love to hear it. Okay, queen 10 off. You know, we can raise wide under the gun, but we don't need to raise too wide. And here we're up against another pretty deep stack, so may just want to flat. But 3-betting is also good. We take the initiative, we attack a weak button range. The question is, what do you do if he 4-bets you? C-bet this flop, and we take it down. But if you're going to 3-bet there, you have to have a plan for what you're going to do if he 4-bets you. If your plan is just to fold, okay, but you have to have that plan. Don't just 3-bet because you're like, well, I have a good hand and I'm up against the button, so I'm going to 3-bet. Most often, 3-betting in that sort of situation is going to be correct, but you want to make sure you've thought one step ahead and know what your plan is in case they play back at you so you aren't surprised. Are you 3-betting so that if they 4-bet, you can go all in? Or are you 3-betting and then if they 4-bet, you're just going to fold? You know? And still not too much going on. Some raise and takes, some reshoves. Everyone's just kind of sitting around the same stack they were when they came in, but the blinds are going up, so the shorter stacks are feeling a bit more pressure. There are a couple of guys who have like 15 bigs now. And, you know. Peel a 10-7 suited. Mario has battled a lot with Josh, and I think he feels he has a pretty good feel for his game. Interesting that he bets so big on that flop. It's kind of suspect. 32K in a 45 on a paired board seems really unnecessary. And we do know that Josh likes to make moves. I wonder what he had. Then he follows it with a really small bet. That's very strange. I don't think I would fold the turn here. I think I would call and force him to commit all the chips because the sizing just doesn't seem consistent with like a super strong hand. But Mario has his reasons for folding, and I'm sure we'll find out what they are in the comments section. More raise and take, more raise and take. Just a whole lot of raise and takes. This final table is not as exciting as I thought it would be, but I'm sure once we get down to short-handed play, things are really going to open up. Okay, we got our first all-in and call. The reshove was for about 20 blinds with ace-10 suited, which against someone who's opening any sort of a reasonable range is perfectly fine. The only way it's a little suspect is if we're up against a total nit. But whatever, ace-10 suited versus ace-queen. And you see sometimes, even when you reshove light, or even when you reshove and you run into a hand, you can still win. So that's just the added benefit of reshoving with ace-10. Sometimes he folds, and sometimes you win. So we're now down to 8, got a little pay jump. I don't have the payout structure, so I don't know what they are. All I know is that first place is $17,000. And flopping sets is always cool. It would have been sweet if like Emil had like an overpair there. We just coolered him for heaps. Check 2 on the flop. Wow, we love battling with Josh. We've got a bet here, and even if Josh check raises, I think our equity is so high that we could just re-raise and get it all in. Even against an overpair, it's like pretty much a flip. And Mario's starting to get his flat on, which, given that he's the chip leader at the table, I think is perfectly fine. Whenever someone plays a pot with him, they have to worry about the fact that they might get busted out of the tournament, whereas they can't bust him out. Ugh. This peel I'm not a huge fan of. Although we are getting 3.5 to 1. Baby pairs just don't play very well out of position. And, you know, we're probably check folding every time we don't flop a set. And even when we do flop a set, we're not always getting paid. Because of what I was just talking about, you know, people fear playing pots against the big stack. Especially more chips they have. Like, this guy's in 3rd place. He's not going to want to go crazy against the one guy who can bust him when he can probably move his way up the pay structure by just chilling. So, don't love it, but whatever. And here we go. We got an all-in. It's a flip. Who's your money on? The smart money's on jacks, but the flop will tell. Or will it be the river? Damn. Down to 7. And things are heating up. Okay, blinds up again. Let's look at what we're dealing with. 43 blinds for us, 15 blinds for Modmore, 46 for Yargan, 20 for Bitox, 32 for Dadawek, 16 for Josh, and 40 for Emil. So we aren't the chip leader anymore, but we're definitely one of the big stacks. And there are 2 guys who are really short. Actually, kind of 3. And it's probably going to be 2, because that's pretty bad shape for our boy Josh. Great run by him, though. We saw a lot of him this tournament, and he got a nice little return on his investment. Pretty aggressive player, pretty spastic player, but those guys are usually the ones who you're going to see making it deep if they run good. It's the guys who play weak and tight who just fade away, and they'll never make it to the end. So if you're going to be bad or you're going to be crazy, better to be crazy aggressive than just like crazy tight and crazy scared. So then there were 6. Starting to get near those big pay jumps. And here we go. It's another flip. Again, the smart money is on jacks, just out of pure equity. But it's up to full tilt now. And full tilt is flipping the script. Smart money is now on the KQCC. GG. Down to 5. And everyone's fairly even stacked at this point. I'm going to guess Mario just calls, because that's his style. And that's a pretty good flop. This one I don't get. We've done a lot of leads earlier, and generally his spot choosing for leads was pretty good. But on this board, like you just flop the goods. You're not worried about anything. It's a board your opponent's going to c-bet every time. And, you know, if you think a check raise will scare him off, you can just check call. I guess the lead does look somewhat bullshitty, and it is pretty small, and it's our opponent won't just want to fold for one bet. But if he's got like a total rag hand, which he's going to have a good amount of the time given he's the big stack raising on the button, he may just fold. And I think that this is a mistake. And I'll be interested to hear Mario's reasons for leading there. I know a couple of times I've done the same thing where I flop trips and I'm like, yeah, it's just like, let's just lead it out. And it's just like, when you've hit it that good, you just don't need to blow anyone out. You need to rope him in. Okay. Let's see that again, actually. Bitox not bet the flop there. I do not understand this lack of a c-bet here on that drive aboard. And then I guess Bitox, if he's the player I remember from earlier in part 3, he's pretty tight. So that would be consistent with his game. But when you raise pre-flop and the button and the blinds call and a blind calls, like when you get a Jack 4-6 board, you just have to bet. It's just like, it doesn't matter what you have. It's like pretty much an auto bet. That's a really good board for the pre-flop raiser. Emil starting to get his swag on a little bit. Mario seeing them cheap flops, taking him down. 26 bigs. It's an interesting one because, like, I mean, ace 10 is a very strong hand, and button versus big blind, so who knows how wide he's shoving. If it were for 15 bigs, this is definitely a snap call. 20 bigs, probably a snap call. 26 bigs is a lot of big blinds, though. I just don't know if he's going to be doing this with like smaller aces and stuff, but hey, let's go to our best friend, Poker Stove. Figure it out. We're looking at calling 240K to win 290, so we need 45% equity. We have the ace 10, and let's give him a range. 20%. It's pretty wide. Against that, let's call. 15%. Just barely a call. And 12% becomes a fold. So, do we think he's reshoving all his suited broadways and 7s plus? Seems like a pretty reasonable reshove range. Do we think he's also got king 9 suited and king 10 off in there? Again, pretty reasonable. What we want to think about is he flat calling with any of those hands? Because if he is, we take them out of the range, and his reshoving range is going to contain more of the value hands, I guess. Either way, it's a pretty close spot, and if I were in Mario's shoes, I'm not sure what I would do. I think I remember Bitox playing pretty tight, so against him particularly, I might want to fold. Against most good, aggressive MTT regulars you're going to find, you're probably fist pumping with this ace 10. Anyway, he's got the 6s, so it's a flip. You know? Let's do it. No dice. Alright, so we just got knocked down. We're in last place. We got 18.5 big blinds. Everyone else has quite a bit more. 27 to 74. But the good news is, you guys know that Mario ends up winning this thing. The bad news is, you're going to have to wait a week to see how he did it. Given Mario's been playing really well and really strong up to this point, I'm going to imagine he stays disciplined, he sticks to his guns, and plays a real good game to run this thing back up. It's important when you lose big pots like this to not give up. Sure, we lost momentum. We were cruising. We were the chip leader. Everything was going our way. But sometimes things aren't going to go your way in tournaments, and it's how you handle it that determines how much money you're going to make at the end of the day. If you tilt it off like we saw that player do earlier in the video, you're probably almost always going to screw up your tournaments because eventually you're going to hit like a little bump in the road, and if you just dump it all off, well, yeah. It's never going to be a cakewalk winning a tournament. You're going to have to run good, but you're also going to have to experience some adversity to book that win. So I look forward to showing you guys next week how Mario handled this adversity and eventually managed to take that first place prize. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when that final part is released. And if you have any hand histories of you winning a multi-table tournament that you want reviewed, please send them on over to evan@grips.com with a very detailed subject line, you know, what the buy-in was, what the first place prize was, what site it was on, and all that good stuff. For the sake of me not getting overwhelmed with too many requests, because there are a lot of gripsters out there, there are a lot of viewers, and a lot of guys who are playing, putting in those hours and getting good results. The requirements for your hand history to be reviewed will be that there are a minimum of 200 entrants in the tournament and a minimum first place prize of 5K. Chopping's fine as long as you score for at least 5. And as always, make sure you guys get talking in the comments so that you can get the maximum learning experience from watching this video. Remember, passive observation is a great starting point, but asking questions and getting involved in constructive discussion is where the real learning happens. Don't just talk about the flips and the bad beats and the suckouts and all that stuff. Try to notice the little things that really made a difference in helping our hero achieve victory. That's going to do it for me. This has been Evan for grips.com. Now it's your turn. Go out there and get stacking.